It wouldn't say such a smart
Oh,
person.
thank you so much for coming to help us celebrate National Poetry Month. My name is Judith Toller. I am a poet. My book is available in the library here, if you're interested. I also edit the Sunday poems, and if you have any poems you'd like to see appear on Sunday, great, just send them along to me and for I. And now I hope that from looking at the Sunday poems and also from hearing from these wonderful poets from the workshop, that you'll realize how wonderful and accessible poetry can be. Many of us have had really horrible experiences with poetry in grade school, in high school. I remember having to memorize two waterfowl. I lived in the military. I never saw a waterfowl. I mean, it made nothing. It just didn't touch me at all. But these are poems that are accessible and will touch your heart, or maybe make you laugh or touch your heart. So today we have 7 poets who are reading. The reading should take about an hour, and they're all wonderful poets. But when I know you want to applaud after each poem, because each one is wonderful. But please wait until the poet is finished with his or her reading to applaud, so we don't take up too much time applauding. Now let's see if I'm supposed to say something else. Yeah, I guess, at least now I said it was a reading. When I was practicing, I said, oh yeah, well, welcome to a hearing. I've been watching too much CNN. Okay, so we'll start now with June Hewitt. June?
Hello, so lovely to see everybody.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have to introduce you.
Oh,
I'm not doing my job. Okay. June hadn't written poetry for a while because she was busy writing wonderful personal experience performance pieces. You may have seen her on an earlier production on Channel 2, along with Nicole and some other nice readers. But she has started writing poetry again, and I'm so glad that she caught the bug once again, because she's very good at it. Okay, June.
let's see. Am I angled right? My first time in Judith's workshop, she said to us, if you were a kitchen implement, what kitchen implement would you be? I thought, a whisk, of course. Then she asked each of us for a verb. So the verbs we gave her were twisting, singing, kicking, hugging, dancing, scratching. Then she said, write a poem as that implement using those verbs. Well, piece of cake. Whisking. I like to mix things up, singing while I dance, kicking while I hug, unable to do one thing, always twisting, scratching what I love. Then she asked us to bring a longer version to the next meeting. In the course of the week, my wire whisk turned into a whisk broom, and my poem viewed it from the outside. Whisk. My little brown whisk broom sits in a basket, off in the pantry, out of the way. I no longer remember just where it came from. It's older than I am, starting to fray. It's not often used, ready, made for the one task of whisking away. The silvery handle with rust, but the broom keeps the red, gold, brown color I love. When its usefulness ends, its suppleness gone, it will hang on my wall for its beauty alone. Do you know about the habits of cowbirds? They lay their eggs in other birds' nests, and because they're big, they all the other nestlings right out. This poem is called The Cowbird Says Goodbye to Her Egg. This is for the best. I have watched other mothers, and I am not like them. This is for the best. I can imagine spending all my time bringing you all you need. I just can't imagine doing it for long. This poem is called Cat Cry. I'm a little worried. She's brought out the suitcase. You know what happened last time. Yes, I'm a little worried. How can I not be worried? Do you remember last time? She was gone for days. I can't help being worried. We need to stop her somehow. She's the one who feeds us. She could be gone for days. Think, for God's sake, think. Let's get in the suitcase. She'll have to take us with her. Claws out and grab the lining. Our future is at stake. This poem was an in-class exercise, a list poem about water. Basically, put your pencil down and write a poem. Water cycle. A breath of snow, a sting of sleet, a kiss of rain, a slap of storm, a confusion of fog, a pillow of humidity, a trickle of warm sweat, hot tears. We occasionally bring in poems we wrote in the past to share with others in the workshop. This is one I wrote 5 years ago. The Traverse. I will die, I used to say, sooner or later. Now I think sooner. I am old. I used to want a long life. Now I think not too long. I am an attentive monitor, marking my decline. I am a strict accountant, dispensing my reserves. I am a patient negotiator, convincing myself I no longer need what I can no longer carry over this long portage. I am moving through a landscape of dangers hidden. I am picking my way through a landscape never more beautiful to me than now. I am moving through this landscape closer to my destination. Thank you.
Okay, next we have, and this is kind of an interesting story because he came to the workshop to keep a buddy company. And after 2 meetings, his buddy disappeared, but Paul had caught the poetry bug and found that he's very good at it. And so I'm so glad his buddy brought him. Thank you. I won't name the buddy.
As June mentioned, many of the poems had a different theme around it that we did week by week. This is a poem I wrote. I don't remember what the theme was that we were supposed to use, but here it is. The title of this poem is Stop. It's dark. I'm comfortable. I drift, languishing in thought. My eyes closed, my body resting. Clanging, disturbing, interruption, eyes open in alarm. Noise I recognize, coming too soon, demanding that which I abhor. Stop, stop, I will not, I will not, I will. When the pandemic first hit all of us and the governor's stay-at-home orders came through, I would begin to walk on the deck on a regular basis. As I walked on the deck, I would look at the beauty of the flowers and plants planted in all the different gardens. I wrote this poem about the time I walked on the deck in the fall. Wandering the deck, remembering summer's glory, wondering flowers' beauty matches my mind's eye. I don't remember particularly what the theme for this poem was meant to be. Was the imagery, I just like the imagery in it. As I worked on it more and more, the imagery just became more real for me. How this poem is me and you. We walk together, holding hands. We gaze at each other, eye to eye. We touch, lip to lip. Now I sit alone. This is a structured poem of 3 stanzas. It's known as a 3-voiced poem. The first stanza will be in the voice of a person, the second in the voice of a plant, and the third will be in the voice of an animal. I used a recent snowfall as the basis for this poem. Snow. Oh, how I love the snow, falling gently, pristine, once me. Now I'm swept aside by time. Oh, how I hate the snow, chilled leaf to root, crushed by cold, waiting springing into life once again. Snow! Woof, woof! Woof, woof, woof! Snow! Muzzle snorkeling through, cool, fresh, freedom. This is also a structured poem known as an elfchen. An elfchen is a poem of 5 lines. The first line has 1 word, the second line has 2, the third line has 3, the fourth line has 4, and the fifth line goes back to just 1 word. Waves. Waves, boat sailing, skimming the surface, bow slicing the lake, joy. As June mentioned, we took a kitchen implement and had to write a poem, to write a poem about that. And this is the one I came up with. Grinder, my corner. Waiting placidly in my corner, waiting for the twist, waiting for my moment to serve, to be proud, to fulfill my destiny. But waiting as a half-filled column, waiting to be turned, for my teeth to grind, waiting for my purpose, waiting to be seen, waiting to be noticed, waiting to be moved out of my corner, sitting silently, waiting, waiting, waiting. I don't remember the theme for this one, but here it is. Intruder. Warm dirt, slithering into sun, steps approaching, not looking, not noticing, crunch me into oblivion. Berta, the woman to whom I was married, she and I were facing a rather tense moment in our relationship. Our daughter and son were impacted by that tension. I wrote this poem as a personal response to the tension we were facing at that point in our life. It's the first poem I ever wrote, and it's one I brought with me to the Breakers, and so it was one I had done before I came as a part of the workshop. It happens to be my most favorite poem. It'll also be the last, this evening. House. Let me say that again. House. Children in rooms, memories on walls, personality in corners, framing our emptiness.
Oh, thank you, Paul. And Now we have, I can't get it there. Got it? I don't think so. There. Okay. Now we have Annette Schmidt, and with some very hard work by Annette, she was transformed to poet, which just was not used to writing poetry. She was used to scientific writing. It was very hard then to make the transition, but she finally did, and has written some really fine poems. You probably also know that she's a singer, and you may have heard her sing here. She's a very fine singer, and she's her science part. She is a docent for the Field Museum. So, Renaissance woman. Annette.
Thank you, Judith. I have to thank Judith because without her, I never would have done this. She sort of opened up a new world for me. As a scientist and wannabe poet, I've come a long way thanks to Judith. She started us off usually with some kind of a prompt. And so here's the first one. She asked us to write a poem from an animal's point of view. So my poem is a parrot's view. Oh why does my owner keep asking me to repeat, Polly wants a cracker? Ask me instead to repeat a sentence like Polly wants to fly or fruit. A cracker never is my choice. So please, don't ask to use my voice repeating a ridiculous request when all I want is to repeat some sense. Our next prompt was to write about an apple. An apple. So I wrote a sonnet to an apple. An apple red and juicy, a many-sided delicacy. So versatile, it is used for food and mythology. Eve, an apple ate, the Bible says, or perhaps it's hyperbole. As a food, an apple is remarkable. Eat it raw or cooked in a pie or a cobbler, bake it in the oven or cook it in the stove. An apple can be ingested in many different ways. Impossible to itemize the apple's adaptability. So what is the solution for using this fruit? Why, follow the rule. An apple a day will keep the doctor away. The next one, and I'm not quite sure what the prompt was for this one, is the hive. And here's where my science comes in. The queen sits upon the comb and delivers new inhabitants. The drones who lovingly have done the job appointed have been dispatched. The worker bees travel from here to there, finding copious flowers to fill their lair. Returning to distribute this nectar, they do their dance, so others may continue in the search to fill the hive with luscious, sweet gold. And like June, I was asked to do something about water. So I did it in a scientific way. H2O. What is it? Chemical formula? Yes. Compound necessary for life? Yes. The H2 tells us it contains 2 atoms of hydrogen. And hydrogen is the lightest element. O is relating to oxygen needed for breath. Together, H2O has many names: water, condensation, precipitation, snow, ice, sublimation, avalanche. H2O is so unique, it can be liquid, a solid, or a gas. Whether it is in a glass to drink or a blizzard to freeze, a frog to blink, H2O makes the system stay in sync. Now this one I wrote in memory of my son, who I lost at 31 years old. Many of you have also had these losses. An ode to loss and time. They say that time heals all wounds. Is it true? It depends on the hurt. A tragedy happens and you try to survive, so you fill your calendar with all that can arrest the mind. Where are you, time? Eventually you breathe and realize time does not heal, but gives you space to understand. You will never get over the loss. You will get used to it. Is that healing? I suppose so. And my last poem, we were asked to write an epistle, a letter. So I wrote this to my friend. You don't know me. We met again, and I wanted to share. Hello, dear friend. But you don't know me. You don't know me. Memories built through the years, travels, adventures, and sometimes strife. But you don't know me. That reality has made me weep. You don't know me. Memories will remain within my mind, for no one can share these past joys and sorrows but you, my friend, and you don't know me.
Now, thank you, Annette. Now we have another scientist who had trouble transitioning to poetry, although she had written some fine poems years ago, but hadn't written for quite a while, and all her science got in the way. But I quite understand, because I didn't start writing poetry until I retired. So some of you may be starting, you can start now. And I taught at a junior college. And of course, I taught English composition, you know, a 5-paragraph theme, and it's very different from poetry. So when I first started writing, I had to do a lot of transitioning. Okay. So Louise has worked for the EPA, traveling around the country in various capacities. So all her writing has been writing, or most of her recent writing has been writing for the EPA. So she's come a long ways, and she'll be reading to you now. Okay. Louise DeBrouwer. Oh.
Well, I'm not too good at remembering exactly what the assignments were, but I managed to write a poem every week. So here I am, and thanks to Judith's help, I'm very glad to be here with all these poems. The first poem I have is called Confirmation, and it's a church tradition to have confirmation. So This is my story. Flowers ensconced upon her head. She takes her place in line. Slowly, she stops at her appointed place. The celebrant begins. He speaks of a new place in the church. We will be changed, yes, into warriors of faith. The celebrant touched her shoulder. I see her shiver, but nothing happened. The task failed. She felt hollow, empty, a traitor, hoping no one would see. Seeking help, she looks at me. I could not help it. It had been like that for me. We are wayfarers now, both saving ourselves into being. We are our own superheroes. Then my daughters were scattered to the three winds. There's three of them, Gwen, Kirsten, and Carrie. And they all got together for my birthday a year and a half ago. And I wrote this poem. My daughters are flowers, each different, strong, vibrant, and colorful. When they come together, they form a beautiful family bouquet. My heart feels joy, even knowing they will separate and go back to their own gardens where they will grow. Then a year and a half later, I wrote this poem. Every day I walk into my death, hiding time by ignoring it, until bullied by my daughters to move to a place for the infirm. I explode in anger toward them. My three flowers now turn to weeds. I will fight to keep my own joy. I will fight to live my own life. I will fight to walk on my own feet every day as I walk toward my own death. This is a poem I wrote a long time ago, before I really knew very much about writing poems, but this kind of came to me, so it's one of my favorites and I'd like to share it. It's called The River. The cup filled, overflowing, spilling a new river. I am the river of life. I tumble and roll upon the landscape, kissing it with life. I suckle the crops. I carry the ships, boats of joy, sorrow, commerce. With mist, I shroud in mystery. I am muse to poets. I spin into the sunlight and fill the clouds, then collect the raindrops and reinvent myself ever growing. I move with tenderness and then again with turbulence and tenacity. I spill over again into and inside of my life, creating boundaries even as I disappear as in the desert where my space is marked. I am life in all cycles. I create, nurture, destroy. I feel pleasure and pain. I am passed over, under, through. I spill into and from your lips. I live inside you, and I am you, and you are me, the river of life. Thank you.
Now, next we have Nicole Hollander, and she didn't have too much trouble transitioning from being a cartoonist to being a poet, because both required being very concise and focused and having something to say, meaningful to say, in a nicely tight, structured way. So Nicole took to poetry right away. We love her poetry. But of course, she's also a cartoonist. She was syndicated nationally. And in June at the MCA, the Contemporary Art Museum, she's going to be part of an exhibit of women cartoonists. So the Breakers plans to have a bus to take some of us to that exhibit. Now, you probably know that her cartoon kind of alter ego is named Sylvia. And sometimes I think Sylvia's writing her poems. Okay, Nicole.
Sometimes it's not really convenient to write a poem. So you have to write an excuse. Sometimes I say to a poem, what if I die during the night and the black bookshelf is not organized according to height? What if I die during the night and I have not arranged my books according to subject? Or even worse, some of my books have fallen out of the bookshelf and are jumbled together. What if some of the books are mixed with old bills, with old letters, with old envelopes? What if I die during the night and my sister comes? And my sister comes. And she says, I knew it. Her books are not organized in any sensible system. I would have to rise from my coffin and make order, even if dead. So don't ask me to write a poem.
So she writes a poem.
When it's cold, ants as tiny as hairs on a sable brush cover the cat's breakfast. She doesn't mind. And here's a poem written by Toots in revenge. Why is everything about you? My life is full of intriguing moments, suspenseful and terrifying. The other cats beg me for just one more story of royal cats who died of love for me. I regret nothing. Tall women. Tall women are not afraid to park in the underground garage. Tall women are often spotted walking into alleys calling, kitty, kitty, kitty. Tall women smoke long cigarettes. Tall women get drunk at openings. Tall women are often on the floor of ladies' rooms at openings. Tall women are so tender-hearted that they drink too much at a friend's first book signing and are found on the floor of ladies' rooms. Tall women die on you. Even tall women die on you. Even tall women are mortal. Some women may worry about aging, not me. So this is for all of you who are worried. Where are my glasses? In the fridge? On my face? Fucking old. Where are my glasses? Around my neck? Is the cat wearing them? Has she dropped them in the toilet? Are they tidy bowl blue? A rumor has reached me about the handsomest man in Chicago. I'm told that I would like to see him. But I'm a little nervous about it. So I say, you can't make me. I don't want to. I already know too many people. I don't want to. I don't want to meet anyone. You can't make me. You'll be really sorry if you make me talk to someone new. I will be rude. I will be terribly rude. Upstairs? Upstairs? The handsomest man in Chicago is upstairs? It's a big city, are you sure? Chicago is a big city. Where is he? Upstairs? In the attic? I take 2 stairs at a time. I am running. I am tripping. I will fall. The handsomest man in Chicago. Say no more. Say not more. I'm there. I found some lines while looking through other writers' desk drawers. They were titles of books or a line in a book. Got up early this morning, walk the dog. Got up early this morning, found a reluctant fundamentalist on my living room couch. I remain captured by Endeavor. He is the young version of the irascible Inspector Morse. I watch the same episode over and over. Yesterday, my faithfulness was rewarded. I saw Endeavor go to Joan's doorway and ask her if her offer of coffee was still good. She didn't need to answer him. I was satisfied that soon he would be shirtless in her narrow bed. I know you will understand my reluctance, my foot dragging upon being asked to choose my favorite kitchen implement. But no, I'd rather be a bobblehead. I would rather be an Albert Einstein bobblehead, to be precise. I bought Al first. Then I bought RBG when I heard that Al had a reputation as a bit of a ladies' man. I put them both on my tray table, the one I have my meals on. I put red lipstick on Ruth, and I pressed the imprint of her lips on Al's cheek. I send my sincere apologies to RBG's wonderful husband. I know it's hard to compete with the theory of relativity and a thick head of white hair. That's it. Thank you, folks.
And next we have Joe Piazza, and you probably know her because she's an actor, and a singer, and she's performed here at the Breakers. And also she's a person of consistently good humor and positive thinking. And what else am I supposed to say about her? Oh, yes, she's a frequent student at the Old Town Folk School of Music. Okay, so she's a learner, and she's also, besides all these things, she's a really good poet. Okay, Joe.
Thank you, Judith. You are super duper. Oh, I have 3 poems. I brought. And the first one is quite simple, and the title is quite simple, Poem. When all is said and done, a poem has to write itself. Oh, sure, I know. It's easy to write a clever jingle, or a limerick, or even a flowery verse. But I'm talking about a poem. A group of words that can stab you in the heart and climb up into your brain, capture you for days, or even longer. Oh, this brings back such great memories. As a kid, my grandmother lived way up in the Cable, Ashland, Hayward area in Wisconsin. If any of you know that area, it's beautiful, beautiful. So we go to Cable, see my grandmother. I wrote this in 1981 after a trip to Cable back to Chicago. We would go out to the lake and we would swim, and we would then climb up on a little slope by a pine tree and just mellow out. This is Cable Lullaby. After Cable, Wisconsin, back to Chicago. Summer, 1981, oh my God. Okay. Needle bed, sweet fern perfume, sigh of pine with roots stretched out to clutch the earth, quiet lake, enchanted sky. Clouds merge in lazy foam drift caravans. Your dream world comes to haunt my city nights. Yes. And last I'll read a poem I wrote to my husband of 50 years, who passed away a while back, to Roy. It's been over a year since we said our goodbyes, and time is elastic, for that much we know. It's hard to describe the incredible highs I've experienced lately, but why is it so? You're gone, yet you're here in my heart, by my side. I may never discern that tremendously wide intersection that bridges the living and the dead, but I know there's a bridge. It's alive in my head. Thank you.
Do we have some time for something of yours?
I didn't bring anything of mine. Okay, thank you so much, Joe. And last we have Rosemary Cohn, and she is a natural storyteller. If you've been lucky to talk with her, you're going to hear stories. Every time I talk to her, she writes a poem. It's a new story that I found and find about her. And also, besides being this wonderful narrative poet, she is such a student. I think she just is a sponge for learning. And she's, every time she writes a poem, she makes it a little better and better and better. And she builds on what she's learned. And I really appreciate that as a teacher. Okay, Rosemary.
Hello. I wrote these few poems, and each one of them was in the direction from Judith. And one day, out of a clear blue sky, I said this one. And as we all know, sometimes a one-liner is better than a whole page. So this is my one-liner, and most women will appreciate it. What my mother did, I do. I will call this Morning. On this day, I will sing a song. And on this day, I will dance a jig. And on this day, I will eat a whole donut. Calories be damned. On this day, I will laugh at corny jokes. On this day, I woke to see the sun. Now, these are elfins, which means they are poems with 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, 4 words, and then 1 word. So here's a couple of mine. Farm, roosters crowing, milking cows mooing, pigs rolling in slop. Barnyard, tomato, red ripe, a little salt, mayo on the side, yum. This is a poem, and Judith asked us to take on a persona of a fairy tale character. And this is my contribution. This is Grandma and the Wolf, as told by Little Red Riding Hood. This tale has been told many times, just like gossip. It wasn't always telling the actual story. Little Red Riding Hood, they called me. I'm not fond of red. I would have preferred yellow. Lecturing me on my trip to Grandma's wasn't necessary. I picked up the basket knowing I was old enough to take care of myself. Why not stop along the way? It was a beautiful day, so I lingered to pick some flowers. When I saw a stranger approach me, I spoke to him. I was not afraid. It was a wolf. And when I told him where I was going, he left, and we each parted going in different directions, never guessing that I would see him again. At the cottage, the voice answered my knock. Wasn't familiar, but Grandma was old and sick, so dangerous. The danger never crossed my mind. However, this is where the story changes. I saw the big teeth, the big ears, the big eyes. I didn't hang around. Grandma was missing. The stranger in her bed, the stranger I had seen in her bed was the wolf I had seen earlier. That I knew. I ran from the cottage, bumped into the woodsman. He heard my screams. Returning to the cottage, the woodman whacked the wolf on the head, and out came Grandma, whole and healthy. And after that big burp, the wolf ran from the cottage, never to be seen again. The basket of goodies wasn't wasted because it was a delicious lunch for the 3 of us, Grandma, the woodsman, and me. So now you know the details missed in the writing of this tale. But I'm not complaining because it was on the bestseller list for years. This is a poem about loss. Judith asked us to write about loss. So here's my poem. Husband, I have lived longer than he. I have lived longer than he did and have been deprived of passion. You like that word? The fire embrace of his intimate longing, clutching a pillow, breathing in his aroma, stroking my face like a soft breeze, awaiting the kiss of wanting, and simple kindnesses, holding my hand when I needed courage, a roughly wrapped gift of surprise placed in my underwear drawer, breakfast, a special treat awaiting me, listening to my frustrations and nodding without comment. All these living things are gone, but the passion is relived in my dreams. And this is anyone you wanted to write to. So I came up with something, and here is my letter. Attention, gatekeeper. Dear gatekeeper, This letter may seem premature, at least I hope so. This letter is addressed to you because I know of no one who has passed your gates to tell me of their experiences. Therefore, I have some concerns about my arrival. I believe I have lived a life most times following the golden rule. The 10 Commandments have kept me on the straight and narrow. In the event you need references, I'm sure many residents in your lofty place will be happy to vouch for me, I hope. I know about hell and its fiery pits. Those accommodations do not suit me. I am appealing to you to address my concerns. If you cannot answer this letter, I will understand. Perhaps when the day comes for me to be at your gate, my name will ring a bell or a chime so that my admission process will move smoothly. I look forward to meeting you, but not too soon, I hope. Thank you for considering.
See, aren't they wonderful? Let's have another hand for all of them. Okay, well, I'll just take a few minutes to read something I didn't read. I forgot to read at the beginning. But I think Jo, her first poem was a wonderful, wonderful definition of poetry. But here is another quote, two quotes actually, and one is by Ted Kooser, a very down-to-earth poet and poet laureate, a former poet laureate. And he says, by writing poetry, even poems that fail and fail miserably, we honor and affirm life. We say we love the earth, but could not stay. And then about the communication between poet and listener or reader. And I really like this quote by Michael Chabon. Art bridges the lonely islands. It's the string that hums from my tin can over here, looking out of my little windows to you over there, looking out yours. So that's some more about poetry. And then I didn't bring any poems of my own because it's really the poets this day. But because, this month was full of so many momentous commemorations, didn't have time for all of them. But in the upcoming Sunday poetry, there'll be Native American poems for Earth Day. And I included a couple quotes. Excuse me, Chief Seattle, the very wise leader of his people, who also made accommodations for invaders. And actually, the city of Seattle is named after Chief Seattle. Okay. So these quotes really get to me. What are human beings without animals? If all the animals ceased to exist, humans would die of a great loneliness. And then another quote from Chief Seattle. This we know. Earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. All things are connected like the blood that unites one family. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the children of the earth. We do not weave the web of life. We are only a strand of it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. And I won't read it, but there's a wonderful poem in the upcoming Sunday handout by Joy Harjo. But I will read, to end this session, a Navajo prayer song. This is at the very end of the sacred Navajo night chant. Beauty before me, beauty behind me, beauty above me, beauty below me, beauty all around me. In old age traveling, with it I wander on the beautiful trail I am. With it I wander. In beauty it is begun, in beauty it is finished. Okay. Now, if anyone has any questions of any of the poets, we have a couple minutes. No, you're all filled up. Okay, there's a question.
I would just like to thank and say this was glorious. So thank all the folks.
Oh, I don't know if everyone heard you. You said it was glorious? Okay, well, you have a fan here saying this reading was glorious. Okay, we all set then? Well, thank you. Oh, we have someone over there? Oh, we have a Noreen over there.
along with the glorious. It was so enriching.
Oh, enriching. Isn't that wonderful? And you know, these are all either beginning poets. Yeah, these are beginning.
It really was.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, she heard the humming on the tin can, clearly. And, so thank you, so much. But remember, these are all either beginning poets or poets who hadn't written for a long time and started writing again. So, I'm just very pleased with them.
And thank you to you, Judah, for leading this workshop and putting this all together.
I love doing it. Uh-huh. Yeah, okay.
Very much.
Okay.
Because without you,
Exactly.
I would not have told this.
Okay, dear. This is it. Well,
so much. I know everyone's heart is so big.
oh, you were so well received. I knew it. Oh, that's right. You tune in when?
Next.